Joining us again is Daniel from Nintendo Treehouse.
Yay!
Thank you.
Right.
Welcome back.
And today we're talking
It's one of my favorite spots to sit
Octopath.
down. I like this place.
Octopath Traveler.
We like having you here, yes.
Octopath Traveler. Yes, hear about the Octopath Traveler coming out on July 13th, and even today we released a surprise. Well, today we released the second demo of Octopath Traveler. I know you played.
I'm here instead of playing the demo. I'm so mad about that.
Because you played the first one, right?
Of course I did.
Yes, and they actually took a lot of feedback from the first one that people had to actually develop the second one and even change the gameplay, like certain quality of life elements, like the ability to now see a mini map more easily.
Oh, thank
to
you.
run, you can run.
No! Yay!
So if you played it, that makes complete. If you haven't played that, it doesn't make as much sense. But if you have, it's a huge change up that's going to make it a little bit easier to get around the world.
Very excited about running. And Octopath Traveler was the working title originally, right? And now it's the official title?
I think it was called Project Octopath.
Project
Yeah,
Octopath,
now
that's
it's
what it
called
is.
Octopath Traveler, the official name. And yeah, so the guys who did Bravely Default from Square Enix. So this is them making a brand new IP, exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. So it's a really good opportunity to see what they can bring to the table this time around. And so far, people have been. I played the demo. You played demo. It's just tons of fun, and it just it brings that nostalgia you talked about before, that nostalgia, that 2D world, but it just looks so vibrant and new in what they've created. Like, yeah, we hear the gameplay.
Oh gosh, the art style is just so beautiful. It's so dynamic. It's like we were talking about future and past.
Yes.
Like you can tell that this is a current generation game because of the shadows and the water dynamics. It's definitely not a game from the 90s, but it gives you that 2D pixel feeling of it.
Almost like HD 2D, if you will.
I like that term,
That's kind of what they've
2D.
been using as well. Yeah,
and
HD 2D.
the art of the actual, like the full-blown characters is also this gorgeous watercolor art, and it just makes you feel like you're in the fantasy world, and it really gives you that awesome vibe, and the music is amazing.
Yes.
as
Oh,
well.
the music. Oh, there's so many songs in this game too. And then right here now we jumped a little bit further. This is not the demo, the new eShadow, so that people will get to experience it themselves. But we jumped a little bit further in the game. We have 4 of the travelers brought together here right now. We have Ophelia the Cleric, Cyrus the Scholar, Ulbrich the Warrior from the first demo, you remember, and I forgot the Merchant who's also there. I spelled her name. Tressa. Thank you, Sarah. Tressa. So right now, right here, we're meeting one of the town. In the town, sometimes you have a certain thing called path actions. So in this case, I know if you remember from Primrose, the dancer, she had that allure, that rogue-like path action.
Yes.
In this case, her counterpart to that is now a cleric, Ophelia. She has an ability called Guide, where now she can get a follower to join her.
Without seducing them.
Yeah, not seducing them. So it's considered a noble path action in this case. And now you see that 5th person has joined the party. And when you go into combat, you'll actually be able to call upon this person to help out in that combat for a certain amount of time.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
So y'all have talked about that there's 8 main protagonists for the story.
Yes.
And their paths will all intertwine somehow?
Yes.
Are you able to like theoretically complete the entire game using only one protagonist, or is it going to kind of force you into using some other ones as well?
All the characters do intertwine, so that's part of how the story builds up in that. So yes, the idea you would be experiencing meeting these other characters over time, and experiencing their story and things like that. As to be able to finish the entire story, that you have to wait and see what you find out for yourselves to see how that plays out in that situation. In that one. But yeah, and right now we're kind of just walking around. We're now leaving the town where it was called Saints Bridge, which you saw that beautiful, vibrant color in there. Now we're going to Mirkwood, the Mirkwood Trail, heading toward the Mirkwood Forest. Now we're seeing here combat. So if you play demos, you're kind of a little bit more familiar with the combat. For those who haven't, though, there is a lot of information on the screen right here. Right side is where your characters are, their health and their skill points, their SP. And then at the top right there is the turns. You'll see those little diamond-like tiles. So you know whose turn it is in each round. And then basically you can do things to basically make other enemies or your enemies can attack you to not have a turn. Then the break. When you break someone, basically when you hit someone based on their vulnerability. And this is where the puzzle mechanic comes into play. It's like at the bottom of each screen, of each enemy, you see their vulnerabilities, those little icons.
Right.
Like you see a spear, you see the ice, you see wind, and all these things are things that normally they're not revealed. You have to discover that for your own by experimenting as you play the game, and trying out different attacks to figure. And that's kind of that puzzle mechanic that really makes you start wondering who should you bring in your party, who should you build up, how do you want to build all these things out.
It feels very much like Final Fantasy 13 in a lot of ways, with the break mechanic and trying to better understand like where those weaknesses lie on what enemies.
Yeah, so like I say, that's definitely one way to look at it too, for sure. And then you can start doing those things like that, breaking, taking that turn, and then finding those vulnerabilities. But what's cool though is actually Cyrus, who is the scholar. he has a talent that by default, whenever he enters combat, he will identify every enemy on the screen one of their vulnerabilities automatically.
Oh.
So he's a good
nice.
character to keep in your party if you want to be more exploring, trying to discover these different vulnerabilities on different enemies.
And once you discover a vulnerability of an enemy, I'm assuming that it will pop up.
It's permanent.
It's permanent, kind of like
Yes.
a Pokemon.
Yeah,
Right,
it's,
like
a very, it's a
Pokemon,
good example.
yeah.
It's a good example. Kind of like the Pokemon in that situation. You know what their types are, where their weaknesses lie. So that's
Right.
right now you can see here. That's why all these enemies already had their vulnerabilities revealed when you walked into the area.
Right, right. God, the 2D HD style, it's something that I feel like we haven't seen as much before, you know, when you feel that nostalgia coming on and you want to go play an old Final Fantasy, an old RPG. It takes a toll on you when you're like, oh my God, is that a person? Is that a dog? I can't tell what I'm looking at. But with this, it's like an actual dynamic screen. What made the team want to go 2D for a classic RPG?
It's the guys who did Bravely Default. So
Right.
this is the kind of familiar space they're with, and I think they just wanted to build something, a new world, with some similar mechanics that people might remember from Bravely Default, but really build its own game, a whole different series, kind of just a whole different story. To just explore this world and take those learnings they got from the previous one and see what else they could create out of this.
We were talking a bit about nostalgia earlier, and like something that this game really scratches is my Final Fantasy Tactics itch with the job system and just the way it's displayed, but also how you're gonna attack a secondary job to a primary job.
You can attach a secondary job, and that's an interesting thing to bring up, just because when you do attach those secondary jobs, you can start learning the skills that exist in that job, but it's not always exactly the same. Like a good example would be, as we talked about the Scholar, he has the ability to identify the vulnerabilities of the foes when he encounters them. But if you have the Merchant skill, the Scholar skill is a secondary skill, that it's not automatic. You have to actually use a turn to activate it in that situation.
It's a lot of planning, and a lot of times in menus, I'm assuming.
I mean, again, that's something you kind of, as you progress through the game, it kind of gives it to you in doses. You're not like, here's the whole thing in a fire hose like we're doing right here, kind of jumping into the whole thing, using Sarah as our expert over there, who knows how to play the game already.
That's good to know, because I feel like a lot of RPGs, especially like JRPGs, if you land in, they're like, we assume that you know everything about this, so have fun. But Octopath does not do that. You said it gives it to you in chunks.
Yeah, no,
it teaches you.
because you learn especially when you start, you get one traveler trying to understand their story, and that's what you get a chance to do with the demo that's coming out.
Right.
It's today. So you start experiencing some of those stories, and you get a chance to experience all of them. So right now, I think she just used one of her elements, Holy Light. So yeah, there's elemental attacks based on like light, darkness, lightning, wind, fire, ice, all those kind of combination there. So right now we're using Ulrich, who has a warrior skill. So different things like that based on vulnerabilities. What's cool about him, though, there's also another huge important mechanic here, the boost.
Right.
Yeah, what's with the boost points, and how does that play into combat?
So boost essentially is when you decide to defend, you basically start building boosts. So it's basically you're trying to power up more. So when you do decide to use these boost points, you can use up to, if I remember correctly, 3 or 4. Is it 4 here? Yeah, 3 on your attack itself. So up to 4 boost points, 3 boost points plus your attack itself to unleash more powerful attacks using elemental type magic attacks, or to get just more powerful attacks that you causing more damage with what you do attack with, knowing the vulnerabilities. But sometimes there's different nuances to that. Like Ulbrich, one of his talents is that he can actually boost his defense. He's the only way he can do it. So basically, he can, especially if you're finding these really powerful bosses at some points, you might be able to survive a little bit longer by using something like that to really protect Ulbrich.
And so there are 8 characters, obviously, Octopath, and you said you start with one character, you start to learn that one character. I'm guessing with 8 characters, the story is pretty deep, pretty layered.
They each have their own kind of story and where they progress through it.
Right, so to figure out the entire plot of Octopath Traveler, to be an Octopath aficionado, will you have to play each character?
I say you should.
Yes?
I mean,
All right.
I say you should. I mean, it's up to you to decide how you want to experience. It's up to everyone to experience the game the way they want to as well. So it's kind of fun in that. Just to find, I mean, there's the 8. There's like the warrior, the merchant. Let's get these right. The scholar, the thief, the huntress, the cleric.
The dancer?
And the apothecary.
There we go.
Nice.
And the apothecary. I forgot the apothecary's name, but yes, but the Primrose. She's my favorite from the demo
She's
itself
my
too.
favorite.
She was her from the demo, for sure. Now we're in a new area. Now, if you notice here, the vulnerabilities now are question marks. But one was revealed because, again, that scholar we mentioned has that talent that basically automatically identifies what's going on in here.
And in RPGs, I know that there's ways to strike first and fight, be further ahead in the turns.
Yep, you see at the top, yeah.
Yes, at the top. Are there different mechanics that you can do that while fighting, that you can knock monsters back and go first.
That's when you usually start attacking enemies based on their vulnerability. You do get you see that break, and that
Right.
starts making that essentially is making them now lose a turn and pop out for you to now better prepare your attack or decide to boost, start building up and saying with those boost points as you go through everything as well.
I have a feeling that this is going to be that game that I sit there with a notebook and I start like taking notes and I start marking down vulnerabilities or tactics, or I'm going to go so deep into Octopath.
That was really cool. Even the demo, the first demo had that miscellaneous section where you could actually go back and review all those little tips and understanding what was going on in the game as well, and that'll still be available in this game as well.
Oh, perfect. RPGs are things that I feel like definitely you can play casually, but if you want to go hard, you can go hard.
No, you can go hardcore. I mean, I tend to do that too with the RPGs that I play, like the Xenoblade, which is another great RPG. I had a chance to play Chronicles 2, and now this one. I'm so excited to play this one when it comes out soon in July.
That's
July
so
13th.
soon.
July 13th. So it's less than a month away.
Yeah,
We're already
less
at
than a month
because we're at the end of E3, June 14th.
Yep.
So we get a demo, and then less than a month later, you now get the full game coming out as well. So you can start prepping and getting involved with that game and see what you guys feel about all that.
Are you guys offering, because like with Bravely Default, one thing that I felt like that set it apart from other more modern JRPGs was it was a hard JRPG. like you get poisoned in a battle and you go out and start rocking around the overworld. That character's still poisoned and they're still
Yeah, they
losing
start.
health.
You have to do that. No, I mean, this game has its own challenge. I mean, it has that depth in there. You have to start figuring out those vulnerabilities. If you don't take advantage of those vulnerabilities, it will become a challenge for you to survive. And then again, choosing which jobs, how you want to mix those jobs. It really comes up to you to figure out what the best way for you to get through that game. Like everyone has their own ways of playing RPGs. Like sometimes they want to level grind really core. They want to level grind a ton to get their characters built up, or they want to start being more sophisticated, like really creating nice, interesting combos with the secondary jobs you mentioned as well. And then choosing how you want to build up and take advantage of the experience you earn, how you really customize those characters and the party itself.
And are there difficulty levels that you can choose, or is it just like good luck, have
You
fun?
will have to check the final game.
Oh, look at that.
More surprises.
More surprises.
If you had to guess, or you probably know, as someone working
I've
with this
played the
game,
game a bit,
you've
but
played
not.
the
No,
game.
I'm still waiting for you guys to see
But,
what you guys are.
For all 8 campaigns, all 8 stories, what is the hour time to completion?
That's gonna vary per. I mean, that's very because some people like when I play an RPG game, I tend to explore like everything. Like
Right. So you know how they have those average completion times? Like if you're just going through the story.
How long to beat?
How long to beat?
How long to beat? Again, it depends on how you play the game. You're not gonna give me an answer to that question. Come on. It's kind of jumping in, kind of having fun with that.
So to then double back though a little bit,
Yeah.
you were talking about the skill and how she was able to get that 5th party member to join them. What other ways can you interact with the NPCs that are maybe less related to combat, but more related to just things that I can do in the world?
The Scholar is a good example. The Scholar has the ability to scrutinize people. So by scrutinizing, you can get more information you might not get from that character in that way. The Thief actually, what's the Thief? The Thief can, I can't remember what the Thief can do.
The thief can
Pickpocket
steal.
people.
Oh, actually, the Thief can steal. The Thief can steal from people. But also has his talent though. When you walk around, he has the ability to do lock picking, so he can open up chests you might be able to open when you're exploring the
favorite
world. I know he can do lock picking in that situation. Who else is there? Olbrich can challenge people in the town to fights.
Oh, good. I
He
just want to
wants to.
be that dude that just goes, "Hey, you want to fight?"
Yep, that's what he does. You can fight people like you want to as well. You can scrutinize. Allure with Primrose, you mentioned before with the dancers, she can do that as well. The Cleric, we walked before. The Cleric has the guide ability. And right now, actually, next time Ophelia comes up, I'll ask her to use the follower. If you can. Oh, he's already in there now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
He just did.
Yeah, by the follower now appearing, the follower will now be controlled by the computer.
Okay.
But you take advantage of that. But the merchant has another ability. When you get to the merchant's turn, the merchant actually can hire someone in combat.
Oh.
So it's like an
interesting.
Uber for fighters. He whips out his smartphone and calls in a fighter.
No, like right here, she's gonna go to hire. She's gonna hire. You're gonna hire somebody. So now she's looking at a mercenary, a bandit, a dancer, and then you can call up all these different ones to see.
Bring in the veteran.
Destroy them. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
that was an expensive one, I know.
That was
too,
expensive,
though.
but hey,
did it.
It was worth it.
victory.
Victory instantaneously. So you start building really. So really kind of figuring out how you want to play these up as you go through the game.
Wow, the merchant
cool.
is 100% going to be on my team. If he could just.
I love the Scholar. It's each to their own. Like that's what I'm saying. This is the thing. He wants the thief. You want the merchant. I want the Scholar.
Yeah.
I can't stand being locked out of anything. If I have a thief, at least I can get into that door,
True.
get into that chest.
I can't stand personally not fighting strangers, so I'm going to definitely.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you.
Daniel.
Yep.
It looks really great, and that demo's live now, and your save will carry over into the
Yes,
game.
the save. I think thank you for remembering that. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for bringing that up. The save will carry from the eShop demo to the final game. So no more reason you should have your Switch now.
I
and start
told
playing.
you I had to leave it at home because I would be right now ignoring work playing Octopath.
You can be playing right here, right now.
You can borrow mine right after we get off stream.
See, there we go. We already worked it out. Well,
Thanks
thank you
again.
so much. And less than a month to full
Yep,
release.
July 13th.
Yeah.
We'll kick it over to the sidecar from here.
Cool.